Hello my friends, in this video we're gonna discuss political news. For example, this is the interesting tweet from Donald Trump. He wants to look tough. On his Truth Social, he shares this picture where he points to Putin with a finger and he compares it with Nixon pointing at Khrushchev, showing really how tough he is. But in fact, look how he was happy. He was so happy, clapping, Putin, you are my... Okay, I don't want to tell a lot, but he was really happy to see Putin by the time. So no, he wasn't tough at this meeting at all. So why is he tweeting this picture? It is understandable that society in the United States of America, they were shocked how their soldiers put the red carpet in front of Putin and how Donny was playing along with the Russian dictator. That's why Donny now tries to say that he is tough. He's the toughest guy out there and able to say even to Putin, I'm your daddy, you'll do what I say to you, like with this gesture, right? But in fact, we understand that Donny is not the master of his word and sanctions were not applied on Russia even after the deadline he pointed out or appointed before. So actually Alaska meeting is victory for Putin. But in this video we're not gonna speak too much about Alaska meeting, after all it's the history. Here I want to show you the translation of Lavrov's speech today and actually the same words he mentioned yesterday. So Lavrov mentions that it will be necessary to resolve the issue of legitimacy of the signatory from Kiev. So still they continue to say that Zelensky is not a legitimate leader. In this perspective, the meeting with Zelensky is totally impossible, like between Zelensky and Putin. There is absolutely no change after Alaska summit, zero changes. The presence of the foreign troops in Ukraine is completely unacceptable for Russia, Lavrov mentioned again. And absolutely the same words he told yesterday in interview. Today just a written version was published, yeah? So all of that hype relative to security guarantees for Ukraine, deploying some of the peacekeepers and so on, it is nonsense. For Russia, it is not possible to agree on that. There is no variant. So, yeah, of course, countries might deploy their peacekeepers and not ask Russia, but they afraid to escalate. Moreover, yesterday Lavrov mentioned that Russia wants to be the part which guarantees the security of Ukraine. It's the same as Hitler would say, I want to guarantee the security of Jews, yeah, in Germany. And according to Guardian, the White House administration laughed about this proposal. So Russia cannot be a guarantee of security of Ukraine. Well, it was actually already with Budapest Memorandum, but after all, it attacked Ukraine. So it's absolute nonsense, sounds from Russia. But what Russia wants, they want to apply veto on security guarantees for Ukraine. As again, Lavrov himself mentioned, they want to create some sort of the organization which guarantees security for Ukraine, but only with Russia. And as Russia does in United Nations, blocking everything, they might block security guarantees for Ukraine. Or the actual military support in case of the full-scale intervention of Russia to Ukraine once again. Also, Russia mentioned that China could be the part of the security guarantees as well, but Ukraine officially today, I think President Zelensky mentioned that China helps Russia in this war, so we will not accept China as the part of security guarantees for Ukraine. And one more from Lavrov, Putin is ready to meet with Zelensky only if all issues that require discussion at the highest level are thoroughly, sorry, I'm breaking my tone here, worked out. So basically they don't want to meet with Zelensky. Absolutely understandable. The only way or the only variant for Putin to meet with Zelensky is the acceptance of capitulation of Ukraine. That's it. That's the only variant for Putin to agree on this meeting. And what Trump is calling for already 3 days, okay, there's going to be the meeting between Zelensky and Putin in Budapest, in Geneva, Switzerland, elsewhere, Turkey. It is happening just in Trump's head, and even Lavrov have to say, oh, come on, we're not gonna meet. It is understandable from the very beginning that those meetings in Alaska, the meeting even between Zelensky and European leaders, everything of that was for nothing, because Russia still wants to fulfill their goal. However, recently, Ukraine started some of the counterattacks on the front lines. By the way, we also have some of the good news coming from the front lines today, but it's the topic for the next video, my friends. Here we speak about political stuff. Well, the only positive outcome for us from all of those meetings that according to many of the media services, United States and Europe start to speak about the security guarantees for Ukraine. But without the United States support, those security guarantees are not possible. And the European leaders already told about it. According to the recent news from Reuters, United States wants to enforce the no-fly zone over Ukraine as the part of the future security guarantees. Wow, it's a big step if they will do it. Because Putin launches lots of the Shahed drones, there's the massive production, and he uses the terror as the part of his tactics to terrorize Ukrainian society and to cause the internal instability in Ukraine, because honestly saying, Ukrainian people, they are tired of this war, which goes already for the fourth year. Yes, 3.5 years. And again, Putin demands from Ukraine capitulation, basically giving Russia Donbass, and Russia may give territories of Sumy region plus Kharkiv Oblast, but they're not too much, Plus, it promises not to attack in Zaporizhia and Kherson regions, but we know the weight or the price of the Russian promise. Those Russian demands, as said many times by Zelensky, will never be fulfilled, so there will be war, guys, for many, many, many years, I guess. So yeah, Ukraine should give up Donbass, there should be no NATO forces on territory of Ukraine, and also no NATO status of Ukraine. Okay. Before they also mentioned the Russian language and the Russian Orthodox Church, using that Russia provides their influence on Ukraine, brainwashing Ukrainian people. So yeah, that is their demand. And here we have the new tweet from Donald Trump. It is very hard, if not impossible, to win a war without attacking an invader's country. It's like a great team in sports that has a fantastic defense but is not allowed to play offensive. Is it reference to Ukraine? Yeah, I'm surprised that it is. There is no chance of winning. It is like that with Ukraine and Russia. Crook and grossly incompetent Joe Biden would not let Ukraine fight back, only defend. How did that work out? Regardless, this is a war that would never ever happen if I were president. Zero chance. Interesting times ahead. Interesting times ahead. President Trump. So give Ukraine weapons, Trump. Allow it to play in offense. Because actually, even now, Ukraine has capabilities. Just give weapons. As you like to say in your interviews, indeed, it is like that American weaponry, Bradleys, tanks, airplanes are the best out there, as well as artillery, rockets, whatsoever. So Russia doesn't have those capable tools. Give everything of that to Ukraine and you'll see a dramatic change. But no, Donald Trump was the one who blocked all of the military initiatives. Then he even wasn't the president of the United States of America. Remember how he blocked the military support for Ukraine in Congress with the help of Mike Johnson, yeah? That led to kind of the bad circumstances on the front lines. Then Ukraine lost Avdiivka, and now it's the similar case. Ukraine actually obtains the military packages from the previous White House administration, and Donny is selling weapons to European allies with extra price, especially for Ukraine. So he is making money, right? Prove me wrong, guys, but I think like that. And those tweets, they're just for tweets. They have nothing common with reality. Very bad. Alright, Guardian mentioned that Trump is not interested in organizing meeting between Putin and Zelensky any longer. Yeah, because it is useless. The strategy fake it until you make it is not working. Trump was screaming, meeting between Zelensky and Putin. European allies also supported this idea, by the way, but it was not real. Then Trump called to Putin. Putin said Moscow is the place for me and you. He wasn't speaking about Zelensky, as later on media reported, but for Donny, he was sure that it's gonna be a trilateral meeting. It has nothing to do with reality. And as Macron, president of France, said that Putin is just a predator and he wants to continue the war. So Europeans, they take risks more real, but at the same time they're quite late in reforming their army. So it should have been done a long time ago, and now there is a real threat from Russia towards those countries, because Russia is forming new armies in the north. They created so-called Leningrad group of the armies. They are building some of the new bases, the border with Finland, close to Estonia. there will be military drills, so there is significant threat, guys, for the war to escalate. Oh, of course, Witkov delivered Russian medal from Putin to family of American who was zeroed fighting for Russia in 2024. He was a son of CIA official, and that official is still working there. So yeah, basically Putin delivered the medal to his own spy in CIA. MAGA! Make America great again. Probably it's already great if that happens. Oh, fuck. Also yesterday, alcoholic Medvedev mentioned that no NATO troops as peacekeepers should be deployed in Ukraine, so Russia won't accept such security guarantee. Well, it is understandable, and if our partners had some of the balls, they would deploy those forces anyways, because Russia only, in this case, might shout out loud, that's it. Yeah, there is still threat from Russia to NATO countries, especially Baltics, but with this move, NATO would show that it has balls to act on Russian aggression, and Russia would think twice whether they need to attack NATO or not. But now they see that West is weak and they might try to perform limited special military operation. Yeah, here Medvedev blames Macron because it's idea of Macron to deploy those forces. And by the way, Russia is totally okay using the forces of its ally North Korea. Just imagine how far that country from Ukraine, and they were fighting against the Ukrainian army and will be fighting soon because Russia wants to get more of those. According to information and media, 30,000 North Koreans will fight against Ukraine soon on Ukrainian territory. But Russia put that territory in their constitution, so they may always say that North Korea helps Russia to fight on the Russian territory. But de facto, it's not like that. Yeah, guys, some crazy news coming, especially about politics. But anyways, don't worry, Russia will be kaputted. It has no other choice, as every sort of the empire, it has its own end, and Putin with his actions, he just expedites what is happening. And guys, thank you so much for your kind support on Patreon. With your help, I'm motivated to film more videos every day. And stand by for the Frontlines updates. I'm gonna release a video in a few hours, and I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.